The lift truck not only carries heavy loads horizontally, but also possesses a high lift capability. By combining these two functions in one truck, we have been able to produce a highly efficient load handling machine. There have also been remarkable improvements in truck performance over the years. For example, in power steering. And in the load handling system. Yet no matter how sophisticated and highly maneuverable a lift truck may be, mistaken operating procedures can still lead to fatal accidents. Among the most common lift truck accidents are those which involve the tipping over the truck due to excessively sharp turns, with the driver becoming caught underneath and seriously or even fatally injured. We would now like to consider how best to avoid lift truck accidents. The number of trucks produced in Japan has noticeably risen, with over 130,000 being produced in 1988 alone. At present, it is estimated that several million trucks are in use in the world at large. Unfortunately, accompanying this growth in lift truck use, there has been a major increase in lift truck accidents. Many lives have been lost, and many injuries have occurred. The number one cause of accident fatalities lies with a truck tipping over on its side or falling when going off the road, with the operator becoming crushed underneath. In second place come accidents resulting from the fall or collapse of lifted loads which hit nearby workers. With the above two categories, total fatalities already exceed 50%. In third place come traffic accidents involving the hitting or running over of bystanders. Next in line come those accidents due to misusing the lift truck as an elevator in which workers fall to their death from the top of raised forks or pallets. Next come accidents which involve climbing on the mast or the operator's compartment and then becoming caught between the truck body and the mast. Now let us consider how we can best prevent such accidents. A main factor is that operators and their assistants and their supervisors fail to observe basic safety rules. First of all, lift truck operators and supervisors must have a basic knowledge of the functions, stability, and performance capabilities of their trucks. Secondly, it is necessary to have a clear understanding of safe operating procedures and of the kinds of accidents which occur when the rules are broken. Third, it is essential that operators receive proper training. They must be able to operate the truck smoothly before going on the job. Only people who have the qualifications required by your country, region, and company are allowed to operate a lift truck. Under no circumstances is anyone without these qualifications to operate a lift truck. And be sure to read the operator's manual of your lift truck. Operators should first put on their hard hat, being sure to fasten the chin strap. Only well-fitting work clothes with full-length sleeves and pant legs should be worn, along with suitable safety shoes. Do not wear neckties or pendants, sandals or slippers, or go barefoot. Goggles may be necessary when working in dust-filled work areas or outdoors under strong winds. Never operate a truck while under the influence of medicine or alcohol. Check the work area. Look for holes, drop-offs, obstacles. Look for weak spots on docks or floors. Check overhead and side clearances. Before getting on your lift truck, be sure to carry out your daily check. Perform the particulars of the daily check according to the operator's manual. Prepare adequate tools. Apply parking brakes, lower forks to the ground, and shut off the engine. Check the air pressure in the front and rear tires and examine the hub nuts for looseness. Check each part of the mast for possible defects: forks, carriage, chains, lift cylinders, and tilt cylinders. In particular, make sure the load backrest is firmly in place. Next, check the engine oil level and the fuel level. Be sure to shut off the engine before checking inside the hood. The overhead guard plays a key role in protecting the operator's life. Make sure it is free from bends or cracks. The maker has seen to it that an overhead guard of adequate strength is installed. It is your responsibility to maintain it in good condition. Check the operator's seat condition and the seat belt, if any. Then correctly adjust the seat position and the rear view mirrors. Place the forward reverse lever into neutral. Check if the parking brakes are operating normally. Are meters, lights, and horn operating normally? Do not operate trucks with such equipment damaged or inoperative. Start the engine. Next, make sure the steering is okay. Do not operate trucks whose brakes or steering are in any way defective. Check the operation of the lift lever. And the tilt lever. Check if the service brakes are operating normally. Enter the results of your check into the daily checklist and hand it over to the supervisor. If any defects are discovered, the truck must not be operated until they are corrected. Put an out-of-service tag on the steering wheel, remove the key, and hand it over to the proper service personnel. In this accident, the forks broke and the load fell, killing the assistant. If a daily inspection had been conducted, the wear on the forks could have been discovered and the accident prevented. So let's now consider some key safety rules for making practical use of the lift truck in load handling operations. First, let's consider the truck stability. In contrast to the usual kind of highway trucks, the forks which carry the load are located in front of the front wheels. A counterweight is attached to the back end, and the weight of the load is counterbalanced. Picture a seesaw. The balance of the seesaw is influenced not only by the weight of the person who gets on one side, but also by the distance of his center of gravity from the fulcrum. If the load's moment exceeds the truck weight's moment, the truck will tip over forwards. Therefore, to prevent the truck from tipping over forwards, you should first never allow overload. Second, as the load center increases, reduce the load accordingly. Overloading causes the rear wheels to bounce or float, making steering extremely difficult. The load chart shows how much it is necessary to reduce the load as the load center shifts from the basic load center. For example, for an FD30 lift truck with a rated capacity of 6,000 pounds at 24 inches load center, the capacity is reduced to 4,700 pounds at 36 inches load center. By tilting back the mast, the stability of the truck is improved during traveling. If the mast is tilted back fully, the load center is reduced by more than 5 inches. as compared to when the mast is tilted forward. Let us assume that, after the load has been lifted to 118 inches in height, the mast is then tilted forward. Result: the load center shifts forward by over 18 inches and the truck tips over forwards. Never allow the mast to tilt forward past vertical when the load is lifted high. In this accident, an oversized bucket was lifted and tilted forwards. The truck then tipped over to the front. Never try to transport an oversized load by adding counterweights or having other workers stand on the rear of the lift truck. Practically speaking, lift trucks more often tip over on their side than tip over forwards, catching the operator underneath the truck. Why does a lift truck tip over on its side? The rear axle is supported by a center pivot and swings like a seesaw. Therefore, the boundary line of the truck's stability is formed by a line connecting the center pivot of the rear axle and the ground contact points of the right and left front wheels. The triangle thus formed is called the stability triangle. If the center of gravity of a truck leaning on its side goes outside this triangle, the truck tips over. If one of the tires is suddenly raised while driving over something and the truck lists to the side, it can easily tip over, particularly when the load is raised up. Furthermore, when a truck with a raised load is turned too sharply, it easily tips over due to centrifugal force. When traveling, keep the load as low as possible, setting the bottom of the pallet at 4 to 8 inches off the ground. Make the spacing of the forks as wide as possible, adjusting them to 70 to 80% of pallet width. To pick up a load, stop the truck in front of the load and check its condition. Make sure fork spread is okay. Enter the load carefully using tilt and lift. The forks must be fully under the load. Lift until the pallet clears the ground and tilt back the mast slightly for stability and balance of the load. If the load obstructs forward view, travel with the load trailing behind, always facing the direction of travel. Never engage in stunt driving or horseplay. Serious injury or damaged equipment could easily result. Use caution when turning, as there are numerous cases of the rear end of the truck hitting bystanders or fellow workers. When turning the lift truck, always remember that it tends to swing wide. If the vehicle collides with overhead structures while being driven with a mast raised, it is sure to tip over. Use caution so as not to break lights, pipes, or overhead sprinklers. It is very risky to drive your truck with a heavy load suspended from the fork with wire. The wire could easily slip, causing the load center of gravity to suddenly shift out of place. Be sure to use a hook attachment or a crane arm attachment and drive slowly and carefully. When carrying any kind of load on a slope, always be sure to drive up and back down slowly. The load should always be high enough to clear obstacles and should be balanced properly. If the truck has to be parked on a slope, block the wheels. Failure to block the wheels combined with poor application of parking brakes leads to major accidents like this. Never allow anyone to stand or pass under the raised forks, whether it is loaded or empty. In this accident, a workman was doing surfacing work under a raised roll clamp attachment when the paper roll suddenly fell. In the case of a lift truck with a raised load, there is always a danger of the load falling in front or to the side of the truck. Never allow anyone to stand underneath. When stacking loads one on top of the other without use of racks, there is danger of the stack collapsing. In such cases, practice skill and extreme caution are necessary. It is extremely dangerous to use the lift truck as an elevator and allow people to mount onto the pallet. People can easily lose their balance in high places and fall. And even when falling from a height of only a few feet, a person can suffer major injury or even death. Never allow anyone onto the pallet or forks. When using the lift truck to elevate personnel, be sure to use a properly guarded safety platform. Always slow down and sound the horn at crossways and other locations where vision is obstructed. Observe company speed limits. Always travel at a speed which allows you complete control of the truck and the load, if any. Slow down and drive carefully on slippery or wet roads or bumpy ground surfaces and clear away any scattered pieces of wood or debris. Before a lift truck boards a highway truck or trailer, make sure the highway truck wheels are blocked and its brakes set. The impact of moving in and out of a trailer may cause the trailer to move. Parking procedure is as follows. Park the truck on a level surface and apply the parking brakes securely. Put the forks on the ground and tilt them forward a little so that the fork tips rest flat on the ground. Shut off the engine and remove the key. Don't use the upright or a truck chassis for a ladder or a platform. When a day's work has been completed, refuel your truck. When refueling, first shut off the engine. And be sure to clean up any spills or leaks afterwards. Be careful not to allow any open flames or sparks near the refueling area. And remember, no smoking. The safety rules described in this video are only a small part of the whole picture. In the final analysis, the careful attention of the operator is the surest accident prevention policy. Don't let a moment's inattention lead to big regrets later. Remember, safety is your business.